So thank you for being persistent with me.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Esteban, your host, and today I have with me Dr. Ken Barrett with Inspiration and Results. And today's topic, it's all about persistence. Dr. Ken, how's it going?
I'm great. I'm great. It's funny, just to be transparent. This is our second taping, just to be really vulnerable with our audience. And the first one, it was great. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and really, I just enjoy our conversations, and I'm so thrilled to be able to share these with people. But it wasn't exactly right, and I thought, maybe I shouldn't say. No, I'm going to be persistent, and I'm going to make sure it's exactly right.
There you go.
Yeah. So thank you for being persistent with me. I love this. Yeah. I love this topic because I can't see another facet of the personality that would be more critical to success than persistence. Listen, it's a hard road blazing out ahead on your own. It is, you look at all entrepreneurs, and I'm sure we've all read all the stories about the people who have, tried and failed and tried and failed. And you don't experience their pain. There's no movies about people that tried and failed to quit. They had the persistence to stick with it and move forward.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right. You never hear about the second, third place, fourth place, fifth place. You always hear about the people that really, really stayed with it, right?
that stayed with it, exactly. And it could take a long time. There's lots of stories about that. One in particular I really like is there was a gentleman who had some personal tragedy, and he had lost his family, from what I understand, recall the story. But he's on the icy shores of Lake Michigan in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, and his plan is to swim in and kill himself. Mm-hmm. And he decided, he was in his 20s, I believe, at the time, maybe he's 32. And then, but he decided to wait, I'll take another day, I'll take another look at my life. And he committed his life to bettering mankind. He really created a vision for himself. And in the end, he was a famous architect. He was a number of patents in his name. He's just incredibly successful human being, did all kinds of great things for society. And his name is Buckminster Fuller. You can look him up, amazing individual. But sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. When you're really, really in a low place. It's hard to see, keep your vision in your mind. It's hard to be able to motivate yourself when things are not going well. Everybody is, we talk about state on the call sometimes, and I love those conversations too. It gets me so pumped up. But it's easy to do when you got money in the bank and things going pretty well. It's hard to do when life sucks, and sometimes it sucks. But he did something that I think is critical, and I hope that our listeners can glean something from this. Is if you focus on yourself, mm-hmm. that is a very, very low level of commitment. If you focus on making the world a better place, that's a very high level of commitment.
Okay.
So you, as an individual, you could have all kinds of crap going on in your life. You don't really matter that much compared to your vision, this huge vision. Henry Ford said, "I want to build the world with roads." He didn't say, "I want to get rich."
Right.
That makes sense?
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he had a purpose. He had a purpose and a vision of how he wanted to make the world a better place, right? And how he was going to make his wealth. Wasn't like the money wasn't the motivator, it was to build the roads, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he had a vision for what he wanted. And honestly, a lot of these inventors or these, they didn't actually do the stuff themselves. I mean, what put Henry Ford on the map was he knew a dentist that made the first spark plug. This dentist worked with porcelain and metals, and spark plugs are made out of porcelain. So he knew a dentist that made the first spark plug, which made his car much more efficient than the cars that existed then. Yeah, it is an amazing story. He had a race with cars that were much more powerful than him, and he won, and it really put his cars on the map.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone listening in today, Dr. Ken, and they seem to struggle with being persistent in their life? They tend to start stuff and they go at it, and then life happens, and then it's really difficult for them to get up and really push themselves into doing things.
So I'd say stop pushing yourself. It's funny when you study addiction, it's just having the grit or the persistence or the willpower to stop doing whatever you're doing doesn't really work. You have to replace whatever you're addicted to with something that really works. Number one. So I'll give you an example. So if you're having a hard time making sales calls, you can actually motivate yourself to make sales calls. Honestly, I work out, as you know, a fair amount. My gym is in the background and my tiki hut here. There's a reason, by the way, I do this. If you notice, I see this all the time. So it's always in my face. And I think, it'd be great to work out. It would be wonderful to work out. I don't push myself to work out. By the way, who wants to live a life where they have to discipline themselves and push themselves? You want to inspire yourself. You want to motivate yourself. Actually, you want to have a sales conversation with yourself and get yourself to love to work out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Instead of being in a push situation, you want to be in a pull situation where you're being pulled and driven to do it. So I like what you just said, that you surround yourself with like your equipment, so that every time you're around it, you're like, man, I want to work out. It inspires you to work out. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So so if you're struggling out there with being persistent in your life, so maybe you need to have a sales conversation with yourself, like you said. I like that.
Yeah. Have a sales. And the other thing is, we just talked about it, but is change your environment. There's a movie called Flash of Genius, and it's about the guy who invented the delay wipers for cars. Ford had stolen this guy's patent and started just manufacturing cars using his invention. And they offered him a lot of money, and he said, only if you give me credit for it. And they said no. So he ended up suing Ford, which up until that point was impossible. And because it's a big company. And he ended up using his kids as paralegals. It took years and years and years and years. And he ended up winning. He won a $30 million judgment from Ford, and he won tens of millions from other companies. And the interesting thing is that he paid a price, which is his wife had left him because she didn't want to deal with it. She thought that, well, just give up on your invention and just take the money. But this was his mission, and I respect him a lot for sticking with his vision. And his environment left him because he was so focused on what he wanted. And there's nothing wrong with that. By the way, I'm a big fan of marriages staying together, don't get me wrong. But if somebody is not right for you, I believe that God gives us a desire in our hearts to be, do, or have something. And that's what you should be doing.
Right.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're supposed to follow, I guess, like you said, to follow your intuition, to follow your heart, and to pursue the things that you desire. Almost like I forget the name, but the author of the book, but there was the author of this book, I think it's Think and Grow Rich, I remember, but he says that in the seed of the desire, you know, it's planted this seed of its fulfillment as well. So if you have a desire, right there, that should also tell you that you have the ability to make it happen and make it real in your life. So
of course, actually, desire, the word desire means of the Father.
Right, look at that.
Amazing. Yeah. So if you have a desire, it's already manifest somewhere.
Okay.
There's nothing that exists around us that has not been an idea first.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's powerful. And persistent, it's the quality of achieving, I guess, the success that you want in your life, right? It's a thing that's I would say required, right? Of if you're persistent, if you want certain results in your life, you need to be persistent with them in order to make them show up in your world. Let's talk about what you said about getting results, because I know you talk a lot about results, and that's what you do for your clients, Dr. Ken. So what's something that's important when you're pursuing a result and when you're working with a client? What are some of the things that need to happen?
Well, there's a bunch of things. There's I have several different tenets to coaching, and actually I have a workshop on this you can watch online. I don't think we'll have time to go through all of them, but one of the fundamental keys is integrity. And when I say integrity, it isn't the your dad telling you have integrity, like that. It's not a judgment. It's not a value judgment. It's more like a house has integrity if it's structurally sound. A tire on your car has integrity if it has air in it. It's workability. And there are some ways that you can have integrity, and really it's the thing people tend to resist the most, and it's the most important. Integrity, it involves a lot of honesty. And when I work with clients initially, many times we tease out what is going on in their life and what they really do want, what their true heart's desire is, and how they can achieve it. And sometimes they're surprised about what they really want to go for. For example, I had a client who he wanted to write a book, and he's a incredible real estate agent, incredible human being, by the way. And I love working with real estate agents. And we helped him with that, and he did great. And but he wanted to write this book, so we started working on the book, and then he realized, wait, I want to open my own shop, my own brokerage, have my own people working. And he did, and he's very, very successful. Nice. And now guess what? I spoke to him a little while ago. He's writing a book. And now he's making a lot more money.
Right. Good for him. That's awesome. And as far as speed, I know, and going back to persistence, it's important, I know, that when you work with someone that you help them see results fairly quickly, right? Because I know when being persistent, you did speak about that on, in the past we've spoken about this, right? So let's talk about getting results fast.
Sure. Well, I do think it gets more difficult the longer you wait to get results, palpable results. And I'll give you an example that many of our listeners can identify with. If you start working out and you start intensely, when you look in the mirror and you start seeing changes, that gets really motivating.
Right.
That's like, oh yeah, I'm starting to look pretty good. Okay. Yeah. That is the thing that really helps people. So it's the same thing with making money. You start closing sales, you start really getting your message out there, whatever it is. You start really enjoying doing what you're doing, and then it grows and it feeds on itself quickly. It's difficult if people want to go slowly, because And I'll take anybody as fast as they want to go, but I always encourage people to get the results quickly, and then it gets to be fun. When people really, after you get over, I'd say over $200,000 a year, it gets really fun.
Okay.
You're not worrying about paying the bills anymore. It really gets exciting.
Gotcha. So, Dr. Ken, thank you so much for being on this recording today. And for those of you that are watching, if you're struggling with being persistent in your world, in your life, in your business, Dr. Ken right now is doing calls. So these are complimentary calls where he will actually pretty much hear you out and maybe even prescribe something for you. Dr. Ken, that's pretty much what you do on the calls, right?
Yeah. I'll have a conversation with you. You get a sense of what it's like to work with me, and honestly, we'll see if it's a fit.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is a good fit for both.
Yeah.
Of us. That's awesome. So if you're interested in having a conversation with Dr. Ken, it's absolutely no cost to you. Just simply visit drkenbarrett.com. That is Dr. Ken, BARRETT.com. And if you want to learn more about Dr. Ken, you can visit his website at inspirationandresults.com, and all social media channels. You can find him on LinkedIn, you can find him on YouTube, and you can see a lot of his content there as well. Dr. Ken, any final thoughts?
No, thanks. It's always a pleasure, Esteban.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode.